public session to order. We have a quorum. I'll identify closed session topics, recommended expulsions, recommended suspended expulsions, public employee assignment, reassignment, appointment, public employee discipline, dismissal, release complaints, conference with labor negotiator, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, conference with real property negotiator, anticipated litigation. Public comment. Public comment on any closed session item will be heard at this time pursuant to the board policy. The board may limit individual comments to no more than 3 minutes and individual topics to 20 minutes. It is recommended you begin your comments by stating your name. And we do have some public comment. First one is Brianna Faulkner.
Good evening. I am a mother of 6. I have 5 VUSD students currently enrolled. 2 of them receive special education services through the district. My daughter, she'll speak, she's a 7th grader, but last year she was at NER Mitchell. And my son currently is a 5th grader, and he also receives special education through NER Mitchell Elementary. I'm here to talk about Mrs. Hillary Martinez. She was her learning teacher, as well as my son's current special education teacher. I heard her name come up that she might be dismissed. And normally I don't attend board meetings. I hear people come and go, but special education is so important to me because I see my children struggle with, but Mrs. Martinez had made such an impact on my children alone. And I know I'm not alone. So I'm shaking because I'm just here to vent. I'm very upset. I don't want her to leave. I told my husband we have to figure out what we can do. I actually had an IEP for my son today. Most of the people on the board are all new. He's gone through 3 speech therapists, 3 vice principals. This is the 3rd current one. A lot of changes. And Mrs. Martinez she's been consistent. Communication is so important. I always know what's happening with my son. She's the only one that keeps me updated. My son, today I found out he went up 32 points in his iReady diagnostic. That's huge for him. He's too shy to come. He's really difficult to understand. Everything is very hard for him. In his math, he went up in 17 points. And it's because Mrs. Martinez, we're a team. We're almost like in a marriage, but not being married, because I know she covers areas and we work together because we want him to be successful. And she's not just a teacher. She's so important to VUSD and to NER Mitchell. And I just wanted to speak from the heart and let you guys know that she's not just a number. She's a huge asset. And I hope that she's still part of VUSD. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have, I think it's Carla, Kalea Falconer. Sorry about that.
Hello, my name is Kavea. I'm currently a 7th grader at the Visalia. When I was in 5th and 6th grade, I received special educational assistance from Miss Martinez while I was at NER Mitchell Elementary. Before Miss Martinez, I struggled a lot with understanding a lot of my school assignments, and my grades were a reflection of my struggle. Miss Martinez helped me grow so much. She has made the greatest impact on me. I've been an honor roll student this entire school year because Miss Martinez gave me the tools to be successful, and she believed in me. She's not just a teacher, she's a mentor who truly cares about her students and is the true definition of a difference maker. Every child deserves to have a person like Miss Martinez in their life.
Thank you. Next, we have Christina Flores.
Sorry, I'm kind of nervous. I have 3 students that go to NER Mitchell, and Ms. Martinez had seen 2 of my my sons for special education, and she help my sons so much in their growth. My other two sons are in special education as well, but with some other teacher, and I don't see no growth there. And I try to communicate with the teacher and talk to the teacher, and I don't get nothing. But for Ms. Martinez, she was gonna be their special education teacher next year for my two little ones, and for my big one, she helped them so much, and has, like the other lady said, I feel like she's part of my family because she keeps us communicated with everything that goes on, their growth, what they need, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Narisco Aguirre Lopez.
Okay. Hello, Visalia School Board. My name is Narciso Aguirre Lopez from the city of Visalia. I'm here today to give a voice to the parents and children whose lives will be heavily impacted by your decision tonight. I would like to first speak about how a lot of parents from Linnell Camp, whose voices will not be heard due to the language barrier and lack of information available. This matter being discussed today is very dear to my heart because I was once a struggling student. And if it wasn't for the very few teachers like Mrs. Martinez, I would not be in the position I am today. A lot of students from Linnell Camp unfortunately do not have the luxury to go home and receive the help they will need to succeed in the school. A lot of these students look forward to being in Mrs. Martinez's classroom because they feel accepted and they feel at home. I am very certain that if Mrs. Martinez is removed from NER Metro Elementary, a lot of these students will not continue to make the academic progress like they have been making in the past few school years. A lot of times, decisions are made without taking into account the actual facts. More times than once, decisions are made using only feelings. I would like to please ask everyone of the school board members here today, please look at the facts and look at the impact Mrs. Martinez has made in every single student she is working with. Today's decision will not only impact Mrs. Martinez, but every single student and parent that have grown a valuable bond with her over the past school years. We ask that Mrs. Martinez be able to continue to teach at Antioch Metro Elementary, where she will be able to continue to make an impact in her students' lives for many more school years. I would like to thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Jaime Torres. Is that correct? Is it Jaime or Jamie? Sorry.
Hi, how are you? My name is Jamie Torres. I just wanted to speak on behalf of Ms. Martinez. She's in special education at Antioch Mitchell. One of the things I've kind of read over your mission statement. It says we exist to provide students with an education that affords them limitless opportunities for the future. Special education students, they're already, unfortunately, there are limits to what they can do. And it takes a special educator like Ms. Martinez who are able to help them overcome those things. I just, being at Antioch Mitchell for the time that we've been there, it seems like there just seems to be a lot of staff, teachers and office staff, and even I think there was like 3 vice principals that have left. It just leads me to question why. What's going on there that they can't keep these good educators and these good people in Antioch Mitchell? And I think it's just incumbent upon Antioch Mitchell to keep those good staff members there, because if they fail to keep those good people there and the good educators there, then unfortunately our students are doomed to fail as well. So, and speaking on behalf of Ms. Martinez, I'd like to say that, I've never had a bad experience with her. She's been a great teacher. My student really looks forward to going into her classroom and learning, and she has learned a lot from Ms. Martinez. So, I would like you guys to look into possibly voting to keep her on at Antioch Mitchell. Thank you.
Thank you. Esmeralda Torres.
Good evening. Hi. Just my husband just spoke. We do have a daughter who has actually been at Annie Mitchell since kindergarten. I just can't even speak to the growth that she's made just in the last 3 years that she has been with Hillary. Prior to that, she was making progress. She was meeting her goals. Hillary has continued. She pushes her. She gets her going. She sees that really she is limitless. And being a parent of a special needs child, every day of progress means so much, because we're not just talking about her life today as it pertains to her education. It's her future. And teachers like Hillary, who are so passionate, she's not afraid to push the bar when it matters to our students, not just mine. And sometimes, there's disagreements in administration, in teachers. It happens in every walk of life, in every career, every industry. It's there. But what is most important to me, speaking as a parent tonight, is that we have to continue making our children our future. And we've chosen this city for its beauty, and we've chosen to raise our children here. And their education here at Visalia Unified, it is the foundation of everything that they will become or can become. Teachers like Hillary Martinez, they are rare. At Annie Mitchell, Evangeline has had exceptional teachers who have really been there for her, been by her side, and have given her the tools that she needs. Hillary continues to do that for my daughter, but also for the rest of her kids. And she calls them, they're my kids. She's that passionate about them. And we just want to see her be able to provide that for years to come here at Visalia Unified, because she's exactly the kind of teacher that I believe our district, our city needs. And like I said, we've got to just put other things aside and really think, because at the end of the day, it's about the students. It's about supporting the students, supporting the parents. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
for your
Mrs.
time.
Torres. Is there any other public comment? We'll adjourn to closed session. Welcome. Students Board Member Savannah Torres is unable to join us this evening. I'd like to welcome Student Board Member Cameron Hood from Golden West High School, who's taking her place. Adan Avalos will serve as a Spanish interpreter for this meeting. Meeting attendees who would like to listen to the Spanish interpretation of this meeting, please pick up the headphones from the table located in the back of this meeting. The announcement will now be shared in Spanish.
Armávalo servirá como intérprete al español para esta reunión. Invitamos a los asistentes de la reunión que deseen escuchar dicha interpretación al español, el ir por audífonos a la mesa ubicada al fondo de esta sala de reuniones.
Thank you. This meeting is being webcast live and recorded. The recording or webcast may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. Members of the public wanting to provide public comment on items listed on tonight's agenda, we recommend you fill out the public comment form, the green form located on the table in the back of this room. Please hand the completed form to Delia Smart, our board manager, in the back of the room. Please hand the complete, I already said that. We recommend you complete a separate form for each agenda item you'd like to comment on. Ms. Smart is sitting at the table in the back of the room. Members of the public providing public comment, please use the microphone on the stand located in front of the room. And now we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance by Board Member Villegas. I'd like to report action taken in closed session. In closed session by motion by Board Member Odo, a second by Board Member Gamoyen. The board agreed unanimously to approve resolution of non-relect of probationary certificate employees listed as follows. Employee number ID 19702, employee ID number 22544. Also by a motion by Board Member Case Beer Solano, a second by Board Member Dr. Villegas, by unanimous vote, approves settlement agreement with a classified employee. There are several revisions to our agenda. Enclosure numbers 1, 2, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22, 25, and 31. There was one revision we need to make to the agenda. Agenda item 4.3, instructional report, balanced instructional model, will be moved to the general agenda. Following agenda item 11.2, Assistant Superintendent Thompson is attending an event and will be here later in the meeting to present item number 4.13.
Well, now it's already moved.
Oh, oh, well, he's here. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the revision to the agenda? A motion made by Board Member Naylor, second by Case Beer Solano. Vote.
Student Board Representative voting yes, motion passes unanimously.
Now, Mr. Bishop with our student performance.
Good evening, Board Member Gamoyen, President, and distinguished board members, district administration, Mr. Shrum, Superintendent. I am really pleased to introduce to you today, we have our singers from Green Acres Middle School. They are under the direction of Kimberly McAvoy, and their accompanist is Ann Alcrate. They will be singing two selections for us tonight, I Can Feel the Rhythm and Shine a Little Light. Our guest percussionist is Noel Thompson. Please welcome Green Acres Middle School to our school board meeting tonight. Let's clap for them.
Feel the rhythm, I can feel the rhythm, I can feel the rhythm and beat. Oh, well, now I can feel the rhythm, I can feel the rhythm, I can feel the rhythm in my hands and my feet. Oh, yes, now I can feel the rhythm, I can feel the rhythm, I can feel the rhythm and beat. Oh, well, now I can feel the rhythm, I can feel the rhythm, I can feel the rhythm in my hands and my feet. Rhythm,
shine it from the mountaintops. I'll never let my spirit stop. I'll shine it in the valley low. I'll shine it everywhere I go. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. On the highest mountain, shine a little light. In the lowest valley, shine a little light. Shine it everywhere. Shine a little light. Keep darkness, name, light in the world. Show bright in the world. Name, light in the world. Shine a little light. Shine a little light. Shine. It's all on the shine a little light of the world. Not only shine a little light. Shine on, it's all on the world.
Item 4.1, spotlight on good things happening in the district. Superintendent Schrum.
Well, good evening, board, President Gamoyan, board members, and our public. Thank you for being here. And great job for our school. What a wonderful performance. Now we're all a little excited and feel really good. And so let's just keep that vibe going by talking about all the great things happening in our district with the spotlight tonight. And so beginning with, there we go. Of course, our core beliefs and commitments and priorities and all of the things that we highlight and the work that we do in this district is to make sure that these beliefs and commitments become the reality for all of our students in Visalia Unified. So for tonight's spotlight on the district, lots of things going on. As I say every time, we have amazing students, amazing families, amazing schools, and just great things happening. So very proud of our school sites and our county for recognizing our students that have exemplary character. KSEE 24, we had two students featured on Your Character Matters. Olivia Torres from El Diamante High School, a junior point guard, nominated because of her effort on and off the court. And her quote says, "No matter who you are, I feel you just have to put yourself out there. And it's not even just a student athlete, it's just being a good person, helping out the community, whatever title you have." And Bryn Bartlett from Denton Elementary School, 6th grade, seeks out her fellow students with special needs. Her willingness to be helpful and inclusive stood out at a recent roller skating field trip where one of the special needs kids needed help. And the student said, "Their smiles are just the brightest of anyone I know." And so congratulations to those two students. Spotlight on our sites, Mount Whitney High School World Language Club partnered with Kauai Health to develop a community garden as part of the HEAL program. Another example of One Visalia Connected, our partners working to connect with students to provide meaningful activities outside of the classroom. Moving to Golden West Virtual Enterprise Awards and next steps. Through the VE hands-on task-based curricula, the students test drive potential careers create and manage day-to-day operations of the company they built. Naughty pronounced as the root of notification. Competitions are a big part of our curriculum, and they have attended 2 conferences and exhibitions this year. They've earned numerous awards at each of these competitions, but the most notable is a top 30 finish in the world for their world marketing plan. Our top 30 ranking earns Golden West team business entry into the national competition in New York in April. I'll help chaperone that trip if they need help there. Our students will compete for the first time in over a decade against the world's best firms in the following competitions: marketing plan, trade show booth design, and salesmanship competitions. That is impressive. Spotlight on our sports. We've had amazing student performances these past couple of weeks. You've been following on Twitter and other things. So congratulations to Redwood Boys Wrestling. They are the CIF Central Section Division II champions. And congratulations to Mount Whitney Boys Wrestling for being the CIF Central Section Division IV second place team. So great job. Moving on. Congratulations to Jenna Creason, left photo from Redwood High School, defeated Birmingham by the fall at 1 minute and 42 seconds on Saturday night to win the individual 2023 CIF State Girls Wrestling Championship at 143 pounds in Bakersfield. So have some state championships, maybe some rings coming their way for that. Congratulations to Audrey Segura. Redwood High School followed suit in the 150-pound division. She beat Porterville student to claim a first place medal. Congratulations to Jackie Green, who topped Ridgeview's Olivia Furlong in the 170-pound championship bout to turn in a first place performance. And Lana Camacho from Golden West High School captured the 189-pound championship by beating Golden Valley's Naomi Robbie in the first place match. Super job to those student athletes. Congratulations to El Diamante Cheer for their CIF Central Section Division III championship placement, and Mount Whitney Cheer for CIF Central Section Division IV co-ed second place finish. Speaking of our spring musicals, had the great opportunity to see Mount Whitney the couple of weeks ago, or last, I can't remember one day from the next, but last weekend, I think. Descendants, they did a great job. And every time I see one of these musicals, I'm just in awe of the talent of our students. And of course, none of that happens without the support of the parents, and especially the support of the teachers who put in countless hours to help practice and get kids ready for those performances. And so I know a lot of our board has been able to join and go to many of the musicals this spring as well. So great job on that performance. And then spotlight on college and career readiness. Congratulations to Golden West High School Business and Finance Academy students, Melina Dillon and Maya Carrera, who were awarded scholarships in recognition of their internships working here at the VUSD Finance Department. They interned over 200 hours in the summer and maintained an above 4.0 grade point average. Also, congratulations to Ethan Bonilla, Adam Hecker, Redwood High School Architecture, Construction, and Engineering Academy students for being awarded STEM scholarships from Southern California Edison. During the summer, Ethan interned 90 hours and Adam interned 100 with the city of Visalia. And lastly, we'd like to say a special thanks to the work-based learning coordinators, Karina Mello and John Tyndall. They are hardworking that make these internships possible for our students. So thank you. Continuing our spotlight, congratulations to lead teacher Juan Lopez Meza of the Business and Finance Academy, lead teacher Ryan Blair of Architecture and Engineering Academy for obtaining a linked learning silver certification. This demonstrates that their pathway has in place core components of a high quality pathway. And so they're recognized. The silver certification standards include equitable admissions policy, integrated programs of study, work-based learning, and integrated student supports. In addition to this, lead teacher Tim Peretta and his team of Academy of Health Sciences is seeking gold certification, which is the highest quality standard for linked learning pathway. These achievements take dedication and hard work. Thank you to our students and our teachers for that. Speaking of dedication and hard work, Redwood FBLA participated in the 2023 Future Business Leaders of America Central Section Leadership Conference. Now get this, 25 schools, 477 students and advisors from all over the Valley traveled to participate and compete in 39 objective test and performance interviews. 94 students from Redwood represented at the event. Proud of their hard work. And for the 38th time in school history and 10th year in a row, they brought home the sweepstakes title. What a great accomplishment by our students. So thank you to Mr. Henshaw for helping to get all of our students prepared so well for this event. Some other awesome information about the results. 111 times in the top 10. They had 33 students who placed in the top 10 twice, 65 students who qualified for state in Sacramento, California in this April. FBLA is a phenomenal program and want to thank Redwood for their exemplary performance and encourage all of our other schools and students to participate in such great events. Another really exciting spotlight. You may remember a month or so ago, we started talking about how are we developing partnerships with local institutions of higher learning, our secondary partners all across this area so that our students have more opportunity. We want to create a pathway where a student in middle school and a parent knows what options are available for my kid before they get into high school. So if a student wants to go to college, they can know in middle school, if I do these things in high school, I can walk right into the door of an institution. That's powerful. And so we now, I believe this is our second partnership memorandum of understanding that we have established, and this time with Fresno Pacific University. So tonight in consent agenda, I believe you have this memorandum of understanding, very similar to the memorandum of understanding that we did with University of California, Merced. This guarantees admission if you're a junior who has a 3.0 and you complete your A through G course sequence. There are scholarship and grant opportunities available for you. And in addition, unique with Fresno Pacific, working with them to create pipelines for counselors, social workers, and teachers, exploring the creation of additional college level courses, either through traditional, virtual, or hybrid formats to deploy in our high school so students can get college credit while they're in high school. On-site registration and admissions at the high school. So you don't even have to go up there, right? They're going to come to you to get you entered and signed up to go to school. And then very excited about the possibility of how can we further expand our partnership, possibly even looking at a development like a university high school, possibly to be located at the Visalia campus of Fresno Pacific. So just great future opportunity that can come out of this memorandum of understanding, but most importantly, yet another pathway for a student in one of our high schools right now, as many as they want, to walk right into a fine secondary institution and continue their educational journey. And so we are just beginning to create these memorandums of understanding. We want to have one of these with all of our institutions in the area so that we create even more opportunity for our students so that they know they can enter a school if they do these things. Parents can hold their kids accountable, right? When they get into high school, no, you're going to take that class and I'm going to see your GPA because you're not going to let this opportunity pass by, right? But it's an opportunity they know they can have even before they enter high school. I think that's very powerful. Spotlight on some of our social media, celebrating our amazing transportation mechanics, our youth service officers as well. And as we get ready to conclude February, I guess today, and celebrating our Black History Month, we've developed a campaign to celebrate this not only now, but throughout the year. You know, we may not have a large percentage of our students who identify as African-American, but what's most important is that every single student feels valued and feels seen in Visalia Unified and has opportunity. And so we shared last time that several of our students, I believe 100 plus, had an opportunity to go up to Fresno to participate in an amazing leadership event. I think there was also a middle school version of that as well. And so we want to bring you some of their words. Do we have the video? Or is it? Yep. Want to bring you some of their words that some of you may have seen this, and it's just really powerful. And it's why events like this are so important, where people have an opportunity to be with people who are similar, have similar interests, learn about culture and history, but most importantly, coming away feeling important and valued, seen and recognized. And this is what we want for every one of our students in Visalia Unified every day. Chuck?
Black excellence means like being who you are and being comfortable in your skin and just loving yourself.
I'm really happy that that's the theme this year because I feel like people do not celebrate Black excellence and they always overlook Black excellence.
The best part about it is that I don't really get time to spend around people that look like me, so I'm not used to this, but it's a lot of fun to be like able to experience Black excellence.
So you really do have the feeling of a community coming together.
I get to be around all Black excellence, all people that are growing up to be like good people.
I'm just happy that there's people that help support us and that will help us throughout our whole journey and that understands.
The reason why I'm here is to understand and learn more about people and history and also my ancestors and just be grateful for the time we have with everyone around us.
I am very excited to be here, not only to learn more about my culture, but to know how it affected us to where we are right now.
Getting to learn more about who I am as not only a person, but as a culture and how we're gonna continue to move forward in this generation. So I'm just so grateful and I'm just so empowered.
Embrace who you truly are on the outside and inside, no matter what color of your skin or how you're treated in certain time eras or anything. Just be the best you and stay focused on your culture and community and keep good spirit.
And on that note, Madam President, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Item 4.2, our commitment to student learning, theory of action for change. This is our first read, Superintendent Schrum.
All right, well, thank you again, Madam President, board members, and our public. We've been on a journey in Visalia Unified to help make our beliefs and commitments become reality. This board has done significant work over the past few months coming together to really clarify what is it we believe is possible for every kid. And then once you've identified that, holding myself and the district accountable for making that become the reality. And so this is important because the role of the district, as we've talked about, is to create the conditions for our school sites and our school leaders to be successful, much like our teachers create the conditions for our students to be successful. But what folks may not realize is the board begins that process by creating the conditions so that we can be successful. And they do that by clarifying what we believe in. Evidence of that work are our beliefs and commitments that students can achieve at high levels, demonstrate growth. Family and community engagement is key to success. Learning environment should be safe, supportive, and innovative. And as a board, unified governance team, we grappled with this question. Is it possible to have all kids learn at high levels? And if our answer is yes, it's possible to have all kids learn at high levels, do our current results indicate that that's our reality? And I think we know that that's not the case. And so what do we do about that? So the journey the board has been on is to develop core beliefs and commitments. In the box in the middle in the green, develop clear expectations to move forward. Our theory of action, that's what we're presenting tonight. Next up, and you've heard this, working on developing a strategic plan to take where we are to where we want to be and create the roadmap to get there. That works under development. And then stemming from all of this will be policies that we will put in place to ensure that happens and not just leave it up to maybe it happens or not, right? We'll have policy to make it happen. And so thank you, board, for your bold leadership in developing systems and adjustments, core beliefs and commitments. We appreciate that. This board has been very clear about what they expect, that we're going to take a strategic approach to how we move forward, not continuing to plug holes in a dam or play whack-a-mole as we've talked about, right, as little problems come up, but we've got to get ahead of that and create a vision for moving forward. This is just a graph that shows Board of Education at the top, because I know sometimes people wonder, well, what does a Board of Education do? A Board of Education is responsible for what the district should do, what they want to see happen. What are our results? How much is it going to cost, right? All of those things, what policies do we need to develop to make it happen? That's the role of the board. And then down at the bottom, you see superintendent and staff, right? So we take that and then we make it happen, determine the how. Your board develops policy, the district team implements and regulates that policy. And so tonight is an example of a policy. At your last work session, you came together and you said, what we expect as a board is that there are clear expectations in this district, a sense of belonging, continuous improvement, research-based practices, data-informed, student-centered student outcomes, building capacity. We need to have a culture of high performance. You've set the guidance with these clear expectations, and I believe you're going to see that reflected in the first read of our theory of action. And so I'm now going to read that. Again, this is just a first read. This will be policy, but we'll receive additional input, and then we'll come back with those revisions for a second read. For our folks who are listening in the community, I think you're going to find this very powerful, because this is what this board believes is possible and wants to see. And when it becomes policy, it's not a matter of whether as a district we want to do it or not. Policy implies this is what we have to do. And so then as a district, we have to figure out how do we make this the reality for everyone in our district. The Board of Education has adopted beliefs and commitments about how students learn, the conditions that best promote learning, the policies, management systems, and culture that further commit the high performance of adults to ensure high quality learning outcomes for our students. We believe all students can achieve at high levels and demonstrate continuous growth. Family and community engagement is key to student success. Learning environment should be safe, supportive, and innovative. Therefore, the Board of Education directs the superintendent to continually improve processes and systems rooted in research and guided by data that result in positive transformational student outcomes. To ensure a strong foundation for all learners, the Board of Education directs consistency in the following areas: balanced models of instruction and assessment, grade appropriate standards-based instruction focused on authentic student engagement, aligned high quality board approved resources and research-based systems of support. The Board of Education recognizes that all students are unique and are entitled to receive instruction that results in improved learning outcomes and positions them for success on local and state accountability measures. The board believes in empowering teachers and staff through professional learning communities to make instructional decisions within established guidelines to meet the different needs of each student. In order to achieve student success, the board recognizes that a district must have a high quality, professionally trained workforce. A system of accountability, including coaching and feedback cycles, is necessary for staff growth, development, and retention. Decisions on hiring and staffing allocations are based on data, including student outcomes. The board directs procurement and an equitable allocation of resources, facilities, staffing, and programming that results in a positive academic return on investment. The board expects that systems and processes are developed to facilitate pathways of connectivity from the classroom to the home to cultivate two-way communication with our families and community. Offices and schools will be welcoming and accessible to ensure student, staff, and families experience a sense of safety, significance, and belonging. The board declares that these actions must occur to ensure the success of each and every student in Visalia Unified. Madam President, that concludes my report. Open to questions, comments. I will further say that this is a strong declaration, and should this become policy, then as a district team, we have to take stock of where we are connected to this, and then through our strategic plan and through other policies and regulations, create the conditions that happens for everybody throughout our district. I am proud of the work of this board. That's an extremely powerful commitment to make and publicly commit to. I turn it back over to you, President Gamoyan.
Thank you. Board comment, questions. Board Member Villegas.
Thank you, President Gamoyan. I just want to reiterate how excited I am about this policy, about the board's commitment to students, to change. Didn't have an opportunity to comment on the last item, but also just very exciting to see how students are being connected to culture, to community, and to themselves, and believing in that change. And I know we'll be discussing board policy a little bit later, so I'll save some of my comments. But all goes to say, I think part of that is recognizing that we're providing these students or these opportunities for students, not just at these special conferences and external opportunities, which are extremely important, but every day within the classroom, which is why I think we need to have a serious conversation around ethnic studies and around moving faster than what the state is pushing for, right? Making it a graduation requirement so that every single one of our students recognizes and is connected to their culture, the culture of others, and belonging within our district and within our broader community. And so thank you, Superintendent Shrum, for leading us through this process, for also having high expectations for us, right? We can't outperform our students, our staff, if our board is not functioning at that same level. So I also applaud the commitment of my fellow board members in this policy. Thank you.
Other comments or questions? I have a comment. On the, let's see, slide 10, it says, the last paragraph says, the Board of Education recognizes that all students are unique and are entitled to receive instruction that results in improved student learning outcomes and positions them for success on local and state accountability measures. I feel like I'd like to add something about that. Our children will be at grade level or higher, that is our goal for our students in reading and math. I don't know, I'm open for discussion on that one, about adding that possibly.
I would just say I'd support that. Absolutely.
And we'll work to include some language along those lines, and then we'll certainly bring it back. Yeah.
Well, no, I was looking because there's somewhere that addresses something like that.
Give us a minute here.
Yeah, the reason I'm pausing is because I know we've had a lot of these discussions about, and so I know it's included in our thoughts and reflected in here, but it's that idea that all students deserve a year of growth. And so if I'm already at grade level, I deserve a year of growth too. And so it's, yes, we want every child on grade level, but we also want, you kind of pushing to your
Beyond.
potential and beyond. So I think that's kind of we've had that discussion, and I know it's kind of included in the
And I would
thoughts.
also say, remember, we referenced the core beliefs and commitments within this, which does say all students can achieve at high levels and demonstrate continuous growth. So I do think, that could be what your eyes are drawn to as well, because that is referenced and included in this.
Any other comments? Yes. Board Member Odo.
Yeah, just real quickly, I want to thank staff for their work on the document I see before me. What you've done here is taken the deep and kind of eclectic conversations the board is engaged in over a period of time, particularly in the work session, and come up with something that's coherent and reflects the things that I think are key to making sure that the district continues to improve its ability to serve the children of the community. Among these are a culture of high expectations that's implicit throughout. It's not stated, but it's clear that that's what we're working towards. The other piece here is making sure that strong systems are in place. That's present throughout this. This is a district that has long had strong systems, and systems not for systems' sake, but systems because that's how you get to consistency and making sure that folks have access to what they need. And beyond that, the focus on empowering teachers and staff. The one thing that will carry the district forward through thick and thin is if the staff has committed to its work, is trained, powered, and freed to do the work that needs to be done to support their kids. We've come from a time, not in this district, but throughout the state and the nation, where we've kind of handcuffed teachers to do the things that we thought were best for kids to raise the level of achievement to a certain level. We've done that. Now it's time to work with to cultivate and then to work with the skills of teachers to go to the next level. The handcuffs are coming off. The expectations will be clear. That puts a lot of pressure on individual teachers and staff members, but that's good pressure because we really do free teachers up to do the work that they got into the business to do and the work that our kids desperately need here. So again, good work to staff on this. I look forward to the next iteration. You've encompassed the things that I think should be inside this document at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
and sorry to return, but I think that the word that kind of throws it is that results in improved student learning outcomes. Sometimes when we think of improved, that word connotates kind of like a below grade level and we're getting you to grade level. And so I don't know if it's that results in growth of student learning or however that may look. And I don't want to pick out your words, but that may be the only one that like sometimes that kind of connotates.
Okay.
I don't know.
Appreciate that.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
staff. Thank you, board. Item 5, general public comment. General public comment on any school-related topic may be heard at this time. The board asks that any public comment on an item listed on tonight's agenda be addressed at the time the item comes up for discussion by the board. To comply with the Brown Act, California's open public meeting law, board discussion is limited to items on the agenda. Therefore, when receiving public comment for items not on the agenda, the board's role is limited to receiving such comments, and the board may not engage in dialogue with the public. The board thanks the public for its participation in public comment and understands the board's responsibility. Pursuant to board policy, the board may limit individual comments to no more than 3 minutes and individual topics to 20 minutes. It is recommended you begin your comments by stating your name. Crystal Reynolds.
Good evening, Board Superintendent. My name is Crystal Reynolds, and I am the mother of 3 with 1 child in the district. As you can see, I'm coming without a phone tonight, so I am just doing this off the fly, so I apologize if I go all over the place. One thing I wanted to talk about was the last board meeting. I was unaware that the meeting was moved up an hour. I know that you guys have your policies. I think it's 72 hours. Hopefully I got that right. I was just going to put out a recommendation, if possible, if there's any way to send out a text alert like you guys do or the email, that would have been great because I was already at work. So I got the memo like 2 hours before the meeting. So unfortunately I couldn't change my schedule. Otherwise I would have been here and I would have done a comment for you guys. But anyways, I did get to email you guys and I appreciate your guys' responses. I got a lot of email replies back. The one thing I did want to talk about is regarding the minutes. And I know I brought that up regarding our agenda minutes. And I want to kind of take this board back. I know a couple of the board members were not here when this happened, but I want to take you back to the discussion that happened when we brought up the concerns about the missing videos that went from 2021, when those videos were all taken down. And there was conversation throughout that about wanting to keep transparency of what happens at these meetings. And it was brought up a couple times that everything would be, I guess, in context would be there in the minutes. And so that was the reason to bring the videos or have the videos only up for 1 year versus keeping them up indefinitely. And just recently, I was reviewing some of the minutes of when I spoke, and I kind of felt that some of what I spoke about was not on the minutes. And so I'm just trying to see if this will bring up a discussion with the board as far as potentially looking at the videos again and seeing if that is something to consider, is bringing them back indefinitely. I think that when the minutes, and I do understand they have to be generalized because it's a lot of paperwork you guys have there. So I understand that. But again, I don't think that somebody coming in like looking back at minutes, I don't think that they're going to get the full context of what happened at the meeting because it's so generalized. So that's just something that I wanted to bring to your attention is, if there is considerations to look into this again about the videos. I know there was concerns on that, but I have concerns, as a public constituent, that if my minutes aren't going to accurately depict like what I say, I have concerns about, a year from now, 2 years from now, if I want to go back and watch the video is not going to be there. So I just want to kind of bring that to your attention on something maybe to look at, maybe to start thinking about, maybe bring to discussion if you feel that can be discussed. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any more public comment?
Good evening. I'm Kaylee Santos. I'm a senior at Redwood High School. I'm here today to help introduce the HEAL project. We are part of the California Health Collaborative, and we are funded by Elevate Youth California. Our goal as a coalition is to reduce substance abuse along LGBTQ+ students and youth of color. Also, we as a whole, we would like to, give VUSD students, the chance to use their voice and empower them, to express their concerns and their, improve their daily life on our campuses.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emma Sanchez. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a junior at Redwood.
My name is Katie Todd. I use all pronouns, and I am a senior at Redwood High School.
Hi, my name is Angelina Regalado. I'm a sophomore at Mount Whitney, and my pronouns are she, her.
Hi, my name is Tatum Fernandez. My pronouns are he, they, and I'm a dual enrolled high school student at College of the Sequoias.
Hi, my name is Rihanna Gallegos. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a student at El Diamante High School.
Hi, my name is Victoria Navarro. I am a student at Redwood High School. My pronouns are she, her. Thank you for listening today.
Thank you. Any other public comment? We're going to move on to the consent agenda. Does any board member want to pull any item off the consent agenda? Do I have a motion to, I'm
motion.
sorry.
No, I was just going to motion.
Oh, okay.
I was beating
Okay.
it to the punch.
Okay.
I motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second. Okay, motion by Board Member K-Spears Salinas, second by Board Member Naylor. All in favor?
Student Board Representative votes yes, and motion passes unanimously.
Now we're at a really good part of the board agenda. We're going to hear from our Student Board Representative, Cameron Hood, and thank you so much for filling in. And I like that brown tie.
Thank you. El Diamante High School's FFA week was an incredible success and featured dress-up days, a staff breakfast, and a movie night. The week ended with a always popular Kiss a Cow fundraiser. El Diamante High School's 8th grade preview day was February 10th, where future minors received an experience of their first high school rally, multiple VAPA performances, a tour of campus, and received information for registration on their campus. The El Diamante High School Choir performed Sing Out My Soul on February 27th, the L.J. Williams Theater. All performers and attendees enjoyed the show. Last Tuesday, Golden West High School took 50 kids on a Rooter bus to Clovis North to cheer on our boys varsity soccer team in the semifinals of playoffs, where we unfortunately lost. Starting March 6th, Golden West will be hosting our annual Western Week. This week will consist of a multitude of dress-up days, games, and activities all throughout the week. Kiss a Cow happened in Golden West last week. Over $1,400 were raised for wreaths across America, and the top 3 teachers will be kissing a cow, a farm animal, this Friday because it was so rained out last Friday. At Mount Whitney High School, Mount Whitney's choir will be performing their spring concert of the classics tonight at L.J. Williams at 7 o'clock. Mount Whitney's ASB hosted a successful Valentine's event with food vendors, games, and clubs that were all able to fundraise. Mount Whitney's muscle ball tournament will start next week with all co-ed teams, and a championship staff versus student game will be held Thursday, March 9th. Mount Whitney's FFA hosted their annual staff breakfast. Delicious breakfast was served, and teachers and staff were able to enjoy the morning together. Over at Redwood, they just finished off Love Week with great participation, spirit, and love all throughout the campus. Redwood High School has finalized the Mr. and Mrs. Ranger Week theme under the Ranger Blue Sea as ASB works hard to make it a fantastic event. Redwood's FFA finished up their can fundraiser, donating over 450 cans to the can drive. VCIS February Kindness Month was a huge success. They displayed 600 hearts throughout both campuses, which represented every student's name. VCIS ASB delivered 160 candygrams and raffled 2 Starbucks gift baskets to eligible students who had displayed kindness throughout the month. VCIS completed a second CAS prep workshop in math, and English test prep has been ongoing all month through supervising teachers. CAS testing will begin the week of March 13th. VCIS College and Career Center hosted a COS registration/advisory workshop for students who will be attending COS after graduation. The VTech Scholarship Foundation is holding the Denim and Diamonds fundraiser at the Tulare Ag Center on March 4th at 6 p.m. Thank you to board member Mr. Belt and area administrator Mrs. Serrato for their scheduled attendance. VTech is thankful to all the maintenance and ground teams that have been supporting the school with flooding issues, as well as keeping VTech student flooding to a minimum. VTech FFA just finished celebrating National FFA Week with dress-up days and lunch activities for all students to participate in. VTech FFA had their co-op and big team compete at a section contest where their big team took 3rd. Sequoia is currently working with COS staff and providing social emotional support in a weekly program called Project Connect. Sequoia has also finished drawing and LPAC testing the last 2 weeks. African American students attended another program for Black History Month at the Fresno Zoo. And ASB in Leadership has arranged for weekly visits to our campus to enjoy a friendly visit from a therapy dog named Toby. Needless to say, there were lots of hugs and kisses, and ASB's leadership will have Toby visit our childcare students on campus. And that is all I have to report.
Thank you so much. Board member reports. Board member Belt.
Thank you, President Gamoyan. I too enjoyed the Disney Descendants, which I didn't know there was such a thing until I went to that musical with Mount Whitney. I'm aging myself. Also was able to attend the trauma-informed education webinar that the California School Board Association hosted. And there were some insights that I had not even heard of before. But I appreciate that ongoing education that we can get from them. Friday, I went to the COS training, COS training, I'm sorry. I work at the training center at COS in Tulare, and they had a groundbreaking for the Applied Tech and Trades Complex. Mr. Thompson, Mr. DeMeo was also there. It moved indoors since it was so rainy, but they made a sandbox and turned a shovel of dirt. This is an amazing, new, innovative complex that will be something that I think we could benefit from as well, so that some of our students can actually utilize the Applied Technology and Trades Complex as well. This week, I was a part of the Read Across America and read Sneetches in 3 different classes at Viva Blent. Surprisingly, the 6th grade was my favorite, which I wasn't sure that would be my favorite. Ms. Pessy put together a pretty good, and it's still ongoing event. This morning, I actually attended the Ivanhoe invitation from Dr. Gonzalez, and there again read Sneetches. You have to understand, I also dressed up. I wore my Seuss jacket. If you haven't seen it, you have to look on Facebook or somewhere. But I enjoy being able to inspire and excite young people to keep reading, and they can't help but ask, how old am I? Yesterday by Zoom, we actually attended the Visalia Education Foundation meeting, Dr. Odo and myself, encouraging that group that gives a lot of scholarships and is a very viable part of our community, with former educators dovetailing with many community members to make not only scholarships available for students, but also monies for classroom events, everything from STEM kind of resources to art and music. And my wife and I benefited from their monies back when we did drama club after school as well. So they have a heart to continue to really help Visalia Unified. I also attended yesterday the L Roadmap 101 training for board members. So I got quite a insight as to what LRISE is. And I look forward to actually learning more as I downloaded how quickly they went through that PowerPoint so I can still learn it further. And then today I actually enjoyed my interview, as I know Ms. Gamoyan had hers as well, with our consulting group, who are going to really help us be able to tool well as we move forward in our strategic plan.
Thank you. Board Member Case Bear Solana.
Yeah, so I attended the LRISE training with Board Member Gomoyan and Board Member Naylor yesterday. It was very insightful. So I appreciated doing that. I also have gone to some classrooms to read for Dr. Seuss's birthday, Read Across America. I went to Royal Oaks this morning in pre-K in Mrs. Herrera's classroom. I went to Mountain View in kindergarten for Senora Perez and Senor Uribe. And then I went to Viva Blunt in Miss Day's classroom. It was first graders. I have been reading the book with no pictures. It's been really, really fun. And it's just one of the absolute joys of being a school board member. And then also, I think so often every time I go into a classroom, but particularly on days like this where I'm kind of by myself, I don't have any sort of principal or superintendent or kind of entourage with me. So many of us obviously were in classrooms growing up, but going back into them as adults and seeing kind of the skill and the tactics that teachers use to really like I said, I was in preschool, kindergarten, and first grade classrooms, and I'm really just blown away just on a professional level by the work that our teachers do every day. And so it was such a joy to see that on top of getting to read to those kids. So thank you all of the schools for that opportunity. And then, the most important business of being a school board member is you get to bring up some fun things from constituents. So here it is. If you're really, really good at sports in high school, your name goes on a banner in your gym and it lives there for all eternity. And I have been informed that Redwood and Mount Whitney, if your name goes on a banner, you forever get to go to sports events for free. Now, your family obviously has to pay or who you go with, but that's part of being immortalized per se on a banner. LD doesn't do that. And I don't know why. And this is what's been brought to my attention. I don't know about Golden West, but in the spirit of all of our athletes being immortalized forever, I would ask that I have been asked to bring this to the attention of some of these athletes and to ask if they can get that at LD. So that's the important business. So thank you.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Did you get to read in your daughter's classroom?
Both of them. Both
that's right.
both
She's
of them
preschool.
today. Yes. So
Fun.
they were very excited.
Yes. Board Member Naylor.
So I also went to the EL Rise training for the roadmap. I thought it was interesting, a lot of good information. I also thought, wow, we are doing it here at the district because they talked about dual immersion, which we have. They talked about having a strategic plan, which we were working on. And so it kind of validated some of the things that we're doing. So I appreciate that, Superintendent Schrum. Also, they mentioned, and kudos to, I don't think if she's here, Claudia. Yes, there we are. Okay. And they said that you're trained in the roadmap. So thank you. You are a good resource for us and I appreciate that. And they said that you're supposed to be pretty good. So, thank you. Also, I just want to thank Dan. And also I noticed that Principal Pasquini and AP Jorgensen were here supporting the Green Acres Middle School Choir. They did an amazing job. And it just shows a lot of support that you give your kids when we see you at the school board meeting, give them your evening to support that group. And also Mrs. Link was here. Just appreciate that, all your time and effort. And that's my board report.
Thank you. Board Member Otto.
Okay, attended the Ed Foundation meeting along with Mr. Belt. Good to see those folks continuing their investment in the arts in the district and supporting schools across the board there. Also attended the Mount Whitney High School musical Descendants. It's great to see that program continuing to develop. It's a relatively young program. And the current director, Mrs. Burleson, and her kids did a really good job putting on a fun play. Also have started reading at schools this week, was invited out to Ivanhoe by Principal Gonzalez and his staff, and did that. Looking forward to going to Hurley and Goshen later in the week. At Ivanhoe, I read to a first grade class, and I asked them specifically not to put me in a kindergarten classroom because I'm a high school person. I taught wood shop and drafting in high school for 12 years or whatever it was, and freshman boys in a wood shop with saws and other sharp stuff, I'm all good there. But with a bunch of young kids, it's really, really not comfortable. But the class made it comfortable for me. The kids were super enthusiastic to hear the books, and we had some great interaction, and it was a fun thing to do, like I knew it would be. It underscores the fact that we believe, I've heard it here on this board, that reading is the critical skill. If we can have kids go through our system and learn nothing other than to read, we will have achieved a major goal. Reading is important because it's a skill that in itself brings pleasure and also value in every aspect of life, but it also is something that leverages everything else that somebody learns or does. Reading is the killer application, to go back to my days as a digital high school person 30 years ago. If we can have our teachers instill throughout the K-12 system, the adult school too, instill the ability for a kid to read technically and simultaneously develop in children and young adults and adults a love for the act of reading, we will have done great work for the community. Reading is the thing that makes the difference. Everything we teach, every classroom, every subject is important, but reading is the one thing that makes all of that come together. So I'm excited about reading in classrooms later this week. I'm very much excited about strategic planning, which I know will bring deeper learning in reading, math, and all subjects. But it all comes together around, I think, that one most vital skill. Win or lose, that is the place where we need to be at our absolute best across the board. So thank you.
Thank you. And Board Member Villegas.
Thank you, President Gamoyan. Like my colleagues here on the board, I also had the opportunity to read to a classroom. I went to Viva Blunt and read Oh, the Places You'll Go to a 5th grade classroom, which was a lot of fun. And like you mentioned, I'm used to teaching college students, but I just love the enthusiasm in all the students, the questions they were asking both before, during, and after I finished reading, and how their teacher was connecting a lot of these metaphors in the book to challenges, experiences they'll face in life. And so it was just a really great experience. Looking forward to continuing to read throughout the week. I'm going to make my way out to GLC on Thursday and hopefully try and fit in a few more classroom visits and readings as well. And like Dr. Oda was mentioning around literacy in particular, I think it's so important, and I'm so glad to be part of a board that has invested in remodernizations of our libraries at Crowley and several other sites, expanding accessibility of library hours during lunchtime, after school, before school, particularly because the reality is here in Tulare County, here in the Central Valley, we face challenges when it comes to literacy rates. We face challenges when it comes to funding of our county libraries. I was reading an article a couple of weeks ago, I think, in which Tulare County ranked second worst in the state in terms of funding for libraries in the county, right? And so when we have these challenges in our community, I'm very proud to be part of a board that is prioritizing libraries, that is prioritizing reading, literature, and instilling that love of reading within our students. So thank you to our staff, our teachers, our librarians, our administrators, and everyone who puts on an effort, not just this week, but every week, every day in the classroom to get students really excited about reading and learning. Last week, I also had the opportunity to visit Houston Elementary School, where I was invited by the Juntos community group. They're a community group that has existed for over a decade, primarily led by women in the community in that neighborhood who have partnered with local organizations, with the neighborhood church. And I want to thank Stephanie Benton for the invitation. I had the opportunity to learn more about this partnership and their activities and this relationship throughout the years. Most recently, I've just heard great feedback from families in the area as they helped host a soccer league for students in that elementary school. And so again, thank you to all the members of that group for inviting me, for having me, to allowing me to listen. And they also made sure that I left with like a very full plate of tamales for my students. They bring food every meeting. I'm sure they would love any of our board members to go on and visit and learn about their activities and our plans for the future. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Clerk Gaby.
Again, the spot's good. I think everybody's mentioned. So yeah, looking forward to Read Across America. I don't think I start reading till tomorrow or maybe the next day. Very excited about the strategic plan. Also had my interview today and definitely, just even hearing the credentials of the people that we're working with, feel very excited that they're also going to be able to bring some insights into what has been successful in districts and, kind of get all of our arrows pointed in the same direction, because we have lots of amazing things going on, but it's kind of, sometimes random acts of greatness. So that's looking forward to that process continuing. And I think Cameron has confirmed Golden West athletes do not also get lifetime. And as a former Golden West athlete that is not on a banner anywhere, I still think maybe they should get that too. And I think, and also ditto, Claudia's pretty good.
Thank you. I think Claudia is pretty good too. I got the privilege of going to a president's workshop with two of our superintendent executive secretaries. Is that what you call them? I don't know. Well, they're wonderful. Delia Smart and my mind just went blank. Monica Andrew. Yeah. So we spent from 8:30 till 4:30. And and we really learned a lot. It was very good. It was put on by CSBA. I joined the other board members with our ELD roadmap, learning about that. That was really great. I'm going to steal some of Mr. Thompson's thunder right now, because reading is very important. And my heart is so hopeful and excited about what we're going to do. So I'm just going to read this first sentence of his presentation. And it says, VUSD is committed to creating and supporting joyful, proficient readers and writers who engage meaningfully with grade level text. That is what I dreamed about since I've been on the board. And it's like a dream come true for me. I'm very excited about that. And then working with the consultants for our strategic plan, they were pretty amazed how much our superintendent has done since May. We've done a lot of amazing change in our district, where we are getting better and better. And I'm just excited for the direction that we're going. So thank you. Superintendent Schrum.
Thank you, President Gomoyan. I will say no one in the district does anything individually. The Board of Education sets the vision and the mission and the policy. And, I think credit goes to the successes that we've had, and the work that we're engaging in is credited to what a unified governance team can do when there's a mission and a focus. And so I think we're seeing evidence of that. So I actually thank this board for their leadership in creating the conditions for this work to happen within our district. And as we've heard tonight and heard expressed and seen in our report, we do have amazing employees throughout our district, amazing students who are accomplishing so many great things. And I think about just how much more of that we will see when, as board member Gaby mentioned, all of our arrows align with a strategic plan and around a vision and a mission and a theory of action and all of those things, just thinking about how we can rewrite what education looks like in the Central Valley, especially here in Visalia. And so thank you for the work of this board. Several of our board members mentioned it. We did, in a way, officially kick off our strategic planning process today with a cohort of team members representing the community and the district to really come together to start talking about where do we go? How do we make sure we capture all the voices? And so to our public, stand by. You're going to have many opportunities coming up this spring to really let your voice be heard, our students and everyone as well, so that we really do take our time to create a plan that really sets the focus for these next 5, 10+ years for Visalia Unified. So a lot of work to do. And it's called a community driven blueprint for a reason, because it's our community that's going to be helping us create that. Also, shout out to Andre Pacina and our team for really organizing, Felisa, our administrative assistant as well, for a lot of work going into putting not only today together, but all of the events and things that we're going to have coming up. So really proud of that work. And also a shout out to our communications team. They are going to be traveling starting tomorrow to the state conference, CalSPRO, which is the School Public Relations Committee. And I know they have been nominated for several of their campaigns that they've done to increase awareness within our community of what's going on in our district. You've seen evidence of that, including our Student Voices video this evening. So I'm excited about that recognition that they are most likely going to receive, and it's very well deserved. Again, you know, if we're going to do something in Visalia Unified, let's do it and be the best at it. And I think that's what we've seen a lot of evidence of with our students tonight and our teachers. And that's really our call to action and what our board policy is going to say. And so having said all of that, I will conclude my report and turn it back over to Madam President.
All right, 10.1 recommended expulsions. Okay, second. Okay, motion by Board Member Odo, second by Board Member Naylor. All in favor?
Student board member abstains and vote passes unanimously.
10.2 recommended suspended expulsions. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion to accept.
I'll second.
Second. Oh, never, you seconded it.
Motion by Board Member Villegas, second by Board Member Gaby. All in favor?
Student board representative abstains and vote motion passes unanimously.
Good. We'll move on to the general agenda. 11.1 Visalia Unified Teachers Association interest initial proposal for certificated negotiation. Our wonderful president, Mr. Greg Price.
Good evening, Board. Superintendent Shrum. Greg Price, the president for Visalia Unified Teachers Association. I have our 2023-24 BUTA Sunshine proposals. With the entire collective bargaining agreement, the CBA, being open this year, BUTA will be discussing issues and opening CBA articles that benefit our bargaining unit members and the students we serve. We are interested in working on articles that need to be updated as well. Some articles we will focus on this year are Article 3, Safety Conditions of Employment, Article 8, Class Size, Article 10, Salaries, and Article 12, Employment Benefits. We will also be introducing a new article to the collective bargaining agreement regarding special education. The district is proposing several initiatives that affect wages, hours, and working conditions, and we will be addressing any articles that are impacted by these initiatives. Additionally, we will open articles as the need arises throughout the bargaining process. And with that, I conclude the shortest report tonight. Thank you.
Let's move on to 11.2 Visalia Unified School District interest initial proposals for certificated negotiations. First read, Mr. Dillon, Assistant Superintendent of HRD.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President Gamoyan, Superintendent Shrum, members of the board and the community. My opportunity to come alongside my counterpart here. Greg did tell me his would be shorter, and darn it, he's right. So I am bringing forward our Sunshine proposal for this year's collective bargaining agreement. As you see before you, the district is approaching coming into negotiations with the UTA with the intent to negotiate a mutually agreeable contract through interest-based bargaining in order to common interests and concerns in alignment with the district's vision, mission, and goals. Our district interests are to ensure all students achieve at high levels and demonstrate continuous growth, to provide learning environments that are safe, supportive, and innovative, and to support employee success and equip them with the tools necessary for achieving and growth, as well as maintaining our district reserves to preserve the instructional program for all students during economic cycles, and to engage in an open and honest exchange of information through collaborative and objective interest-based bargaining with our partners in the Visalia Unified Teachers Association. As Greg mentioned, the entire collective bargaining agreement will be open this year, and in addition to negotiating contract-specific aspects related to mutually identified student-focused priorities, we do intend to establish a special education article as well. So we look forward to good faith negotiations with the association in which both parties acknowledge our commitment to provide an exemplary education program to the students and the community that we serve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move on to our instructional board balance instructional model. Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Thompson.
All right, good evening, President Gamoyen and school board, community, principals. I will tell you, you probably have the two shortest ones, but tonight I might be a little longer than both of those because I'm really excited on what we're going to share about today. So talking about the balanced models of instruction and really targeting on strengthening our foundation that we have identified earlier this year in October. As you guys did tonight, your theory of action is very bold and very clear that we want change. Is setting up conditions for all students to be successful in every classroom every single day. Now, those are a lot of words and a lot of things that are here. And our goal is to continue to bring clarity to those words and what that looks like, what that sounds like each and every day in our classrooms. And today I bring that next level to you on this. So this is a commitment to our families and to our communities on our instructional practices, how we teach, how we work with students each day in our classroom. It is a balanced approach of student learning, focusing on the development of core knowledge, skills, while engaging students in critical thinking. So again, it does align with our core beliefs. And our core beliefs gives us kind of the why. It's our call to action, just like your theory of action. State standards kind of gives us the what. This balanced approach that we're going to look at each subject area gives us the how. And how matters. Because as many of us, as we went through education, how they taught us is different than what we might need in the future. What I mean by that is this, and I'll go into more details in a few minutes, but thinking about the how we teach helps students to be successful in the future. The reality is this, we need to be very clear with what our ideal state is in our classrooms. Because that helps us to move from our current state to our ideal state. And that's what this does. It outlines, it begins to show what we say a successful classroom looks like, feels like, and works through in our district. That helps us to move forward. So with that, this is the starting point of our process. This is our cover page. As you look at this cover page, it has many colors, has different things on it, but what really stands out, I believe, there is the balanced instruction. It's very clear. And we have sequoia trees up there. You might ask, why sequoia trees? Well, one, as you're familiar with, we are the gateways to the sequoias. But bigger than that is this. Sequoia trees grow in groves. And why they grow so tall and they're so strong is not just because they stand alone, but because they come together. They interlock with one another. Their roots grow together. General Sherman right up here is over 267 feet tall, but the roots are actually fairly shallow, but they actually connect with the rest of the grove around them, and that's what makes it. Sequoias around here also, they're like monuments, right? They're places for people to see. They're things that you hold on to that you say, I see that, it's there. It's going to be there today. It's going to be there tomorrow. It's going to be there in the future. It's consistent and it's predictable. And that's important because we can't leave anything to chance for our students. We have to be very predictable. We have to be very systematic in how we do things in our classes so that our students can thrive, so that they can grow like the sequoia trees, that they can be the tallest living thing that we know in the world. Now, you also might see, also, we try to make it very local, very personalized, is even the backdrop. If you look to the east, you'll see our mountain ranges. And we try to outline that as well, because this is about us. This is about Visalia Unified. This is about Visalia Unified students. This is about Visalia Unified teachers. And this is about providing clarity for all, and also to family members, that there is a commitment to what we see as excellence in the classroom. What you're also going to see tonight is we're going to start with English language arts and mathematics, but we will then soon be moving to social studies, to science, to CTE, to world languages, to also, that's hard to read over there on that small of a piece of it. I have it right here though. Social studies, CTE, VAPA, physical education. But what you're also going to see coming forward is a clear structure on leadership. What's clarity of good leadership and what does that look like in our district? Also, what's the model of student services? How do we provide that in our district? Because when we get clear on what our ideal state is, we can begin to move to our ideal state. I'm going to go on to the next one here. So now I'm going to share with you our mathematic approach. So balanced mathematics instruction focuses on students developing math connections through a variety of instructional strategies. The USD students problem solve to develop conceptual understanding as well as procedural skills. A balanced approach allows students to make connections and apply mathematics to the world around them. So if you see up there, one thing I want to talk about is just, we recognize the world has changed a bit. And sometimes, not to any fault of our own, but we begin to teach like how we were taught. And what ends up happening is many of us grew up in an age where we were developing content, meaning you wrote out something, you talk, you basically are a creator. In our world today, it's changed a bit because we have the internet. The internet has a lot of knowledge in it. It has a lot of pieces in it. I'm not saying that takes the place of creation, because you have to create things to put on the internet as well. But what it has done for our students is they have to look and then do an analysis more. There's so much information out there. They're looking at that. They have to justify. They look at different things. They're looking at different pieces. So we have to be mindful of that as we're working with students, how we get them to critically think, how they look at different resources, how they look at things, and to determine the validity of those things as well, and how to support those, how to justify their thinking as they see a variety of things. With this, that's also consistent in mathematics. And when you look at this, our goal and target is to really provide a system for students that they're seeing things or working through things, but then they are also not just creating, but they are also having that ability to collaborate, to adjust, and to talk. So I'll go into this. As you look on this, here we have embedded practices, and we'll go to that one first. So embedded practices, this is going to be what we call our through line through all of these. And what that creates is that in all of our subject areas, these do not leave. This is good, solid instruction each and every day. So if you see on the embedded practices, the first one is looking at our 4 C's, which is communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. Again, that should happen every day in every classroom, because that is learning. That's how we learn. That's how all of us learn, not just a lecture style, but really having that opportunity to engage with one another, with content, and with our teacher. Second one is a growth mindset, having the ability to reflect and have opportunities to show growth. It's not a fixed mindset, oh, I missed it, that's it, it's over, it's done with, but that I have that opportunity to continue to grow, to learn, to build. The third one there is to listen, read, speak, and write. And this is an embedded practice because that's engagement. When students are expected and are excited to do those 4 things, those are different modalities that provides their ability to grow and to show, to receive information and also to give information. So if we look here and we go to the next one, let's go to the example of the progressions on the left-hand side here, which you see core language and skills, procedural skills and fluency, and critical thinking. And so they kind of work their way up. Now, what I'll say is this is a K-12 model. So what I mean by that is this, and in mathematics, the process of thinking in mathematics is fairly consistent even at a young age. It might get more complex, the problems that might be more varied, but typically it's a very linear, you're looking at it, you're problem solving, you're looking at different pieces and you're adjusting. And with this, if you look at the progression here, I'll give you one example of a core knowledge coming down is students develop mathematical connections that demonstrate an understanding with the use of manipulative pictures, graphs, tables, and numbers. And you might ask, well, why don't we just teach them 3 + 4 is 7 and just move on? The reality here is because developing their ability of understanding what those numbers mean, how to break them apart is going to help them in the future, because when you understand it, you're able to see it from different directions. And so that's so important. So that's a core knowledge needed. Procedural skills and fluency. Students demonstrate fluency by applying strategies and procedures accurately. So again, this is now looking at it, I'm seeing it in different ways, and now can I apply it accurately? Can I apply different models, different ways going there? And then the next one is critical thinking. Students make mathematical connections to the world around them. So can they apply what they're learning in the math in the world around them when they're seeing a real life problem? Because that's ultimately the goal, right? The goal is so that they can translate what they're learning in the classroom to real life, to classes, and in all that they're doing in life in general, in any type of problem. So that's really the target there. If you look at the right-hand side, which is the standards of mathematical practices, which we've had for years. Ultimately, these are habits. These are great habits that students have to obtain and grow and to develop so that they can be successful. There are 8 interconnected habits of the mind and ways of engaging with mathematical content that are essential for students to develop as they learn mathematics. One I'd like to highlight is this, is look for and express regularities in repeated reasonings. One thing about math is about patterns, but life is about patterns, predictable things. So we have ways that we know how to react, respond, how we work with this. Again, these are all very practical, targeted mindsets, but when we do these every day in our classrooms, regardless of our age, but we're consistent with this work, it helps our students to grow that mathematical thinking and reasoning in what they do. So again, we're focusing on the how, right? It might be addition in this grade, it might be multiplication in this grade, it might be algebra in this one, it might be calc, whatever it is, you still apply this K-12. We're gonna go on to our next one, which is our English language arts. And if you start here on this one, and President Gamoyan already jumped on this, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate our team for putting this on there as well, is our promise to the community is that we will create a joyful and proficient readers and writers. And you might ask the question, why joyful? Study shows that when students experience joy in reading, they read more. Their confidence and scores increase, they become better writers, and their vocabulary soars. But just as important, they're also proficient, and that's important. But how do you become a joyful reader, right? That's a question, right? So we know that students that are reading on grade level by 3rd grade, it's so important. Why? Because to be a joyful reader, you first got to know how to read. You got to be able to read, and to be able to read in a flow and a cadence that you're looking at the meaning rather than just the words, right? And so making it come to life. So then the next part of, okay, I got reading down, then you need to be reading texts that are interesting and thoughtful. And that allows you to collaborate. And you'll see that in kind of as you learn to read, which is K2, and then it moves up to more of that collaboration, that experience, that learning by reading. And then you go into the higher ages. And again, this is happening throughout the process of all of it, is that then you're reading to collaborate and also to input new knowledge into your world. It multiplies your thinking. It creates opportunity for common knowledge amongst your peers so that you have things to talk about with one another that are outside of your own world, right? It builds imagination, which we know builds intelligence. And so that's so important. The other one thing I want to say about reading, and just as a way of looking at it, it's so important because reading provides the input where kids get opportunity to gain knowledge, not just when someone's teaching them, but whenever they're reading. They're absorbing words, the information, knowledge, and it's so important as you guys had mentioned actually tonight about how that is the gateway to everything. Dr. Odo mentioned that if we could do anything, that's a priority. And so we really got to focus in on that. Now, also though, in ELA or English Language Arts, we target in on writing. And writing is so important. Well, why is it so important? Because it's the output, right? So we have input with reading for knowledge coming in, but you also have to produce output. And so it's really here, you see that piece of it very well in here, is that we talk about both sides, the importance of doing analysis, of reading, of targeting in, and then being able to provide output or writing to show your knowledge, show your understanding, so you can justify your thinking. You can justify what you're seeing here. You can break things apart and give analysis on what you have. So important. So let's just go through a quick progression here. So in a K2, we're looking at a read and comprehend grade level text. That does not go, and so that's in the beginning, critical thinking, in the core knowledge, and then it goes right into that. That stays in there for 3 through 5, but it goes into a critical thinking side of it. So kind of the higher level. When we're looking at the next level, we're looking at to infer ideas not stated by the author and engage in conversations that present multiple perceptions. So you have the K2, right? Where you're just knowing the words. You're trying to figure out the words. You're doing that as a proficient reader. The next level is you're then looking around the words, right? What is the author really saying? What are they not saying? What are your thoughts about what they're saying? And so beginning to look at that piece of it. And then the next level is demonstrate a deep understanding of a wide range of concepts. So what you're reading, can you relate it to other concepts, to other ideas? How does that work? How do you relate those things together so that you can form a thought from multiple inputs and provide an output that has clarity and consistency in it? So this model really just provides clarity on the core knowledge and skills that are needed for critical thinking for K-12. When we look at this, we usually talk about balanced literacy as a K-2, K-6 thing, but really this is about talking about K-12. How does it work all the way through our system? Because when you go to the end of it, it's about analysis, right? It's about justification. But again, it builds through here. One thing I'll say about this, and I know we put grade levels on here, but this is happening and needs to be happening K-12, all of this. So this is how we keep moving students forward and how we can really target in on our work there. Last but not least, I want to bring you to this next slide. And really this next slide is to just really show you what we have already going, but what to expect next. Because this is not done. This is the starting point. So again, tonight we're bringing to you the math and ELA. We'll be bringing to you the other ones here in the near future that I stated before. But you might ask, well, what's next after this? The next step is this. We have to build look-fors. What does this actually look like in the classroom? So that way there's clarity. Our teachers have asked us for clarity. We've asked for clarity so that way we have clarity of what we're actually looking for, what we're seeing. And so that way there's consistency that can happen. Also, what that does for us is it helps us to align our PD plans with our leaders and teachers. It helps us to have a clear through line and what we're saying here in the boardroom, how that's taken from the district office, how that goes to the school site, how does that work through the administration of the school site, how does that get to the teacher, and then how does the teacher provide that for the student so that there's clarity all the way through the system so that way our students can get what they need to be successful. Also, this helps us when we're acquiring resources. It brings clarity to this is what we're wanting to see in our classrooms, then these are the resources that we need. And before I conclude tonight, I just wanted to recognize Brian Phillips and Claudio Don Diaz and their teams for all the hard work that they put into these. We will be doing a lot more and bringing a lot more products, a lot more targets for you guys so you guys can see on these and moving forward. And just what I want to end us with is this. We have to work really hard to not focus on what our past was and really target in on what our kids need for the future. And so when we talk about the how we teach, it's going to be very important on how we empower students to access knowledge, gain knowledge, to show their knowledge, and to develop their knowledge because they're relying on us. And it's in every classroom, every day for every student that we got to do that. And these give us clarity so that way we can focus our energies and resources to make that happen. So thank you. That concludes my report. I will stay up for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. I'm going to turn this over to Superintendent Schrum.
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Mark Thompson and team. This is really powerful work for a lot of reasons, and Mark really mentioned some of those. There's a quote out there that change is inevitable, but growth is optional, or something to that effect, right? For so many of our students, do they even see school as relevant anymore? The past model that we talked about that meant when many of us went to school, teachers were the holders of knowledge. Well, Google and artificial intelligence are the new holders of knowledge, right? So then what does that mean for education? That means we have to be the ones that help kids assimilate that information, know how to internalize it, know how to interpret it, know how to apply it. It's all those embedded practices that you see in those balanced models. By creating these balanced models aligned with our state standards and expectations, then we begin to create, what does this look like? We align our staff development and our professional development, and then we develop consistency so that when the students graduate from Visalia Unified, they graduate equipped to assimilate knowledge and live in this world that's rapidly transforming, because we've ensured they have the skills to do that. And as Mark said, this brings consistency throughout our district. This is just the beginning as we expand this to student support services, leadership, the other subjects, so that at the end of the day, it is about every school, every classroom, and every student. So thank you, Assistant Superintendent Thompson. I'll turn it back over to President Gomoyan for any additional questions.
Questions or comments from the board?
I just want to say thank you, Assistant Superintendent Mark Thompson, Superintendent Schrum. I know you've said this multiple times, but as you mentioned, Google, AI, and the future of sort of technology, I think it's worth repeating that none of those technologies will ever replace an effective and engaging teacher in the classroom. And that's why I'm also grateful to our teachers who, I think if COVID-19 showed us anything, was that they were willing to adapt to emerging technologies, solutions, and ultimately what's best for students. So I know that we're going to take on AI and all these other technologies the same way.
Any other questions or comments? I just want to say right now I could go and dance, but I don't want to get censured. So I am very, very excited about this. And I just want to thank you, Mr. Thompson, and your staff. This is amazing. And it just makes my heart beat so fast. So thank you. All right. Well, I guess we're moving on, aren't we? Okay. We're on, let's see. Okay, sorry. I got so excited. I lost my track of myself. All right. 11.3. Resolution to approve the intent to sell Visalia Charter Independent Study West Campus. Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Kerr.
Good evening, President Gamoyan, Superintendent Schrum, members of the board. So we are in the next step of this process. In June, the Property Advisory Committee recommended to the board that we declare this property surplus, and the board took action declaring the property surplus. We then went forward with the notifications to the public agencies and all the other steps that we had to take. And so what we bring forward to you today is a resolution to go to the next step with our intent to sell this property. After this approval, then we will start the public notification process for the public agencies, or the private agencies rather, excuse me, the public notification process. And then we will hold a bidding auction here at a board meeting. And it does require a 2/3 vote to pass.
Is there any public comment? Any board comment or questions?
And of course, Mr. Chair, this is because we actually purchased another property to put VCIS.
Correct. The Grace Church property was purchased about 2 years ago. And our intent is to combine both the east and the west VCIS property to the Grace Church property, which will then be known as VCIS.
Yep.
Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll second.
On motion from Board Member Odo, second by Case Beer Soleno. All in favor?
Student Board Representative votes yes, and motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Recommendation and resolution to eliminate particular kinds of classified service and classified positions. Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Dillon.
Eric's playing tricks on me. All right. Thank you, Board President Gamoy, Superintendent Shrum, members of the board. I am here to actually bring this information, or excuse me, not information item, this is an action item to you this evening to request that the board approve the resolution specifically to eliminate these positions indicated for classified employees. This is in accordance with Education Code 45101, 45114, 45117, 45298, and 45308, where we are requesting that the board move forward with a resolution to authorize the district to provide notice to employees by March 15th prior to enacting layoff notices. As just a reminder, these eliminations are primarily a result of a lack of work. So requesting that the board would approve the resolution presented.
Is there any public comment? Any board comment or questions?
Yes, Assistant Superintendent Dillon, I was wondering if you could clarify for the board how many of these positions are currently vacant?
Sure. So there are 94 positions included here. 90 of those positions are vacant positions. And specifically, just to maybe provide clarity about what that means, most all of those positions are vacant positions as a result of creating improved positional opportunities for employees. So many of these positions are former part-time positions, positions without benefits that have now been replaced and currently occupied, many of them by employees who maybe even some of the same employees who were previously in those positions who are now in positions where they're full-time or have benefits. Some of those are preschool positions, some of our transportation positions, many of our library media technicians. As you recall, the board went forward with making those full-time last year.
So, Mr. Dillon, so it's actually kind of a clerical thing more than we're not eliminating anything.
So there are 4 positions that are occupied that would be eliminated. It is a requirement that we make sure that we bring this forward so that we can eliminate those are removed essentially from our position control, removed from the books, if you will. The other piece is that so that this is obviously something we work closely with our labor partners with CSEA on. And so CSEA is in support and approval of these positions we're bringing forward to you this evening.
Any other questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
On a motion by Board Clerk Gaby, a second by Board Member Belt. All in favor?
Student Board Representative votes yes, and motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And I will point out, one of the things just about this, so I'm going to take this moment. Today, we had a job fair that our district did in partnership with the Workforce Investment Board and Employment Connection. We had 56 job offers made on the spot from many of our vacant classified positions that have been created that have replaced some of these positions. So that's a huge win for Dr. Serena Arias, her team. They've been creative and engaging and connecting with the community. So that's just continuing to move that work along.
Thank you. 11.5, resolution of release and non-reemployment of temporary employees. Assistant Superintendent Dillon.
Thank you very much. So again, bringing forward for the board to take action and a request would be to approve the resolution of release and non-reemployment for these temporary employees. Again, this is in accordance with Education Code 44954. Prior to March 15th, we need to bring this to the board. So just as a clarification, right? Teachers who are designated temporary are those teachers who would typically replace a teacher on leave or special assignment, hired under categorical funds or part-time, kind of unique situations. They're hired knowing that they're on a temporary contract for that year. One of the exciting things that I will remind the board is that we were able, for the first time in a long time, to make a shift in how we do this. So in the past, we would bring forward to the board a resolution recommending to release all of our teachers on temporary contracts, typically somewhere between 40 to 60 teachers. This year, we are only bringing to you those teachers who would be exiting from a temporary contract, because we were able to offer 75% of those teachers probationary contracts, which means we have 75% of these fewer vacancies to fill, and 75% of our teachers who are already existing talent, teachers who are committed to supporting our kids who aren't out looking for another job during the spring, but are committed to staying with us at the USD. So again, our HR team last Friday got to be over and doing a signing thing last Thursday, excuse me, with all of those teachers. So tonight, just requesting for the teachers indicated on this resolution for the board to approve the release of non-reemployment for those temporary employees.
Any public comment? Any board comment, question? Can I entertain a motion? Second?
Second.
A motion by Board Member Odo, second by Case Beer Soleno. All in favor?
Student Board Representative votes yes, and motion passes unanimously.
11.6 warrant list, January 7th, 2023 through January 27th, 2023. Chief Business Officer, Mr. Hernandez.
Good evening, President Gamoy and members of the board, Superintendent Schrum. This is our routine item to approve all warrants for the dates you just mentioned, January 7th through the 27th.
Public comment. Board comment or questions? Oh, nothing
to
from Mr.
approve.
Villegas. Okay.
I move.
Okay, sorry.
I move to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, on a motion by Board Member Naylor, second by Case Beer Soleno, all in favor?
Student Board Representative votes yes, and motion passes unanimously.
Item 11.7, Board Policy Revision, Adoption Deletions, first read, Superintendent Schrum.
Thank you, President Gamoyan, board members. This is just a first read. As you recall, we have had policy committee meetings to review board policy, to bring them up into alignment with CSBA recommendation, also conform to new laws or regulations or things passed at the state level. And so you'll see the recommended policy revisions that we have already reviewed. New language in bold, old language stricken, or excuse me, new language underlined, old language stricken. This is just simply a first read of these policies.
Board member questions or comments?
Yes.
Yes.
I have something. I know we discussed this within our sub policy committee groups. And one thing I wanted to kind of bring to the attention of the board was a new law which allows for the substitution of the visual or performing arts requirements with a career technical education class, something that had previously been taken away, but then districts were given that option to move forward. And so I'm wondering, whether we think this should be allowed to continue as a substitution, whether we believe that all students should be required to take a VAPA course in order to graduate. And secondly, and obviously this is reflective of this very bold decision that this board has taken to continue with this third year of math. We now know that personal finance will be honored for this year and for previous students who have taken personal finance towards A through G, towards that graduation requirement, but in the future is not going to count towards A through G as a result of revisions and looking at the rigor of that course. And so we're now in a position in which that may count towards our high school graduation requirement, but that will not count towards A through G. And so one of the concerns that I wanted to express was having a larger conversation with the board about whether we think we should continue to allow this and align this, right? I would hate to be in a situation, and we've had in the past, parents and others that are concerned around, their student is taking X number of high schools courses, believing they're on track, and all of a sudden they get to their junior or senior year and they find out that, well, this course counts for graduation, it doesn't count for CSU, UC requirements or admission. And so I think it's a conversation we should look at having with our board in both of these respects and both of these policies that are outlined here.
Okay, and that was the board policy on high school graduation requirements? Is
That's
that the
correct.
one?
Yeah, and I know personally, I want to have a larger conversation around ethnic studies and when we can move forward with that, rather than waiting till the 2029 academic year. But given that those were specific policies that we looked at in our subcommittee meetings, I just think it's something we should consider as a board and discuss whether we should allow the substitution of a CTE course for a VAPA course in terms of the graduation requirement, and whether we should consider personal finance to count as a year of math, or whether we consider it under the guise of an elective, as A through G will be changing or accepting it as an elective moving forward.
So President Gamoy, and I would also piggyback on Dr. Villegas's terms and concern that there are some fixes. There are some creative expressions of math that we can also investigate. And I appreciate that we actually, people don't generally know this, but you mentioned this, we have these subcommittees, policy meetings that we actually know more about what is going on than we ever present here at the business meeting, because we're trying to get our business finished. And I appreciate that we do that, because it's not like we're going into this blindly. This is tons of pages of deletions or inclusions or corrections. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. We really do have the opportunity to study these and know what they are. But I would also like to see that we investigate more thoroughly what we can do with some appropriate math opportunities to still be able to have the 3-year requirement.
Yeah, and I will say, I am thankful to staff, and we are going to be adding another course. I'm forgetting the course title off the top of my head. I believe it's data statistics or science data, right? But I don't want students to be confused thinking that like I'm on track, I've got my 3rd year of math, and then all of a sudden it doesn't count towards A through G. So I think it's something we should consider looking at. I have my own personal opinion, and I've been very clear about aligning with A through G. But we serve as a board and we make decisions as a board. So if you have any input on that, I'd love to hear it. If not, it's something to think about and consider before we have our second read and ultimately adopt these policies.
And just a point of clarification, if we were going to try to incorporate that, we do that at the next read through like a motion, right? Correct?
So there are a couple of different options. So, you could approve the policy as it stands and then continue the conversation. This is a policy that we amend. I won't say frequently, but like an example of adding the 3rd year math would be an example of that. So that's potentially one option. We could present a policy revision, given some of the feedback tonight for discussion, and then the board could decide. We could pull that policy in and of itself from the bulk or delay a second read on it so that there can be some more work and conversation around it. So there's several different ways we could proceed. And so we can talk about that.
Board Member Naylor?
I am concerned, though. I think that we want to give our kids lots of opportunities. I think it's very clear that the CTE course doesn't meet A through G, and I think that's our responsibility as a district to communicate that. But to say that they can't have that, I think that would be a detriment to some of our students.
So can I have a clarification? I'm not quite understanding. They could do world language, a visual performing art, or CTE, correct? And so what are you saying exactly? That you don't want that substituted?
Essentially is whether or not we want to allow that to be a substitution. Because from what I understand, last year, there was a law which didn't allow for that. That law changed this year. And so now it's essentially an option for districts. And so I think if we, as a board, say that we want students to have a visual and performing arts class before they graduate, and we want it to be a graduation requirement, then I do think that allowing the substitution of CTE for that deprive students of that opportunity, right? That isn't to say I want to deprive students of that opportunity to pursue a CTE pathway or course either, but the more sort of leeway we give in that decision, I think the less aligned we end up with A through G, the less students are going to be college and career ready, or A through G ready, I should say, because they can meet that college and career readiness indicator through a CTE pathway as well. But yeah, that was one of my concerns, but the second concern was around the personal finance class
Yeah.
and math and whether or not we're gonna align that.
I have a question for Mr. Thompson or Mrs. Phillips. I don't know where I heard this, but and maybe I was dreaming it, that the personal finance was going to be reworked so that it was AG. Did I hear that
So
wrong?
let me have Mark, so let me turn this over to Mr. Thompson to speak about that and kind of why this became a question and why we had to make a modification. But I'll also say that we'll come back at next board meeting with some additional information around what Board Member Villegas mentioned. If we do that, what that means, if we don't do that, what that means, so that the board can then make an informed decision around, you know, whether we
Yeah.
want to do that, make that modification or not.
And
So
real quick, can I make a request to Board Member Naylor's point? Can we see how many potential students would be affected by that change? For example, how many of our students haven't taken a VAPA class whatsoever and are going to meet that requirement via the CTE pathway instead? Maybe it's a very large number, maybe it's very little, but I think having that data to inform us to make that decision would be helpful.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes, so thank you for, so what Dr. Villegas is referring to is, so in the past, it does count as an A through G course. For next year, it's going to be counting as a G course, which is in the electives. Currently, right now, it's counting in the C section, which is the math section for A through G. As we went through UC Doorways, looking through all the validations, about over 90% of districts are using it as a G course, and it's giving some more flexibility for them to run that course to really target in on getting students that life skills, getting them ready with the personal finance. It does that. We are adding the data science, which is a C-rated or C-level course that is approved to be able to target in. So that is a replacement opportunity for students to have that as well. So that is correct. It does though count for A through G. It just counts in the G. And it does count for units for that. It's just in the elective section, not in the C section, which is the math section. And if this year it will count, but going forward, that would be the change.
Question you might not know it
Yeah,
off the
that's
top of your head is, so, but are there districts that are rewriting their course of financial literacy so that it will be a C requirement, or it's pretty much just by state, like, no, it's going to be G?
You want this one, Brianna, or you want me to take it?
So there are some surrounding districts that are beginning to look through that process, as financial literacy is a component that the state is putting out there. So financial literacy is different than our personal finance math. So it would require a course revision. At this point, for a course revision, we would follow our course revision process, which would begin at the start of the next school year to implement for the following school year. So, but although we are moving this to a G, because the rigor of the course does not support what's qualified as other advanced math as it stands now, and is not adequately preparing our students going to a four-year university. And so that is what's pushing us to moving it to the G as it is. But looking at the personal finance, financial literacy course is a component that we can entertain to look for a C category as other advanced math.
Got it.
Yeah, Board Member Naylor.
So can I ask a question? The VAPA, what is that? ABC, G? Is that a G also?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and so is CTE a G.
Yes, we have a lot of CTE courses that already qualify
That's right, I
in that
understand.
component. Yes.
So they don't have to necessarily take the VAPA. They could meet that requirement with the CTE.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think the question boils down to, I personally, I'll just say this personally, do not believe that it is good for our students to make a graduation requirement that they're all AG and going to a four-year university. I don't think that's fair to all of our students. There's other ways our students can be successful. So I like giving our kids more flexibility, and we have amazing counselors I mean, our rigor of our graduation requirements is stricter than Clovis Unified. They have amazing counseling, which I think we do too, that counsel those kids in the direction they want to go. But if I want to be an auto mechanic or I want to be a hairdresser, I would be a little ticked off that I couldn't have flexibility to go through a CTE pathway instead of having to be UC and whatever the other one, UC and CSU ready. So that's just my opinion. So
Absolutely. And I will say, correct me if I'm wrong, but it is possible to both meet A through G and complete a CTE pathway, given we saw some example schedules when we discussed this third year math requirement, right? And we looked at, especially junior and senior year, the vast amount of space within student schedules, students who didn't have a full schedule at that point, right? And so again, I'm not necessarily trying to say, all students will go to a four-year university. I teach at a community college, right? I think students should have the option to pursue whatever they would like to pursue. But I do think that all students should be prepared and have that option via the A through G coursework requirements, et cetera. And of course, we have that conversation as a board. So thank you, President Gamoyan.
Well, I guess just for me, I agree with Mr. Villegas's concern that we could potentially have kids who get to their junior or senior year and then realize that personal finance doesn't count as math. And now that path has been eliminated for them. And so I think it's really important. And I think what Dr. Villegas is really trying to get across is that we don't want to be in a position where we've eliminated possibilities for kids. And so as long as we are making it very clear that that is not a math course, that would be my biggest fear, is that it's still, and I think that's what's confusing about our graduation requirements, is that it is considered a math class. And so if kids think it's a math class and they enroll in it, and then here they are, their senior year, or they graduate and they're thinking about going somewhere, and now they can't because it's not actually an acceptable math course. So if we want to move it out of the math bracket into something else, which I think is what Dr. Villegas was sort of indicating, I see where that thought process is.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, please.
I agree. I do not want to confuse kids, but I also want to make sure that we give them lots of options. So if a VAPA meets a G and a CTE meets a G, I think we give those kids those options, because not everybody wants to sing or dance or do choir. So the more options we can give kids to meet those A through G requirements, the better off we are. But I don't want any confusion. And if a kid thinks that's a math class and that is going to meet A through G and it doesn't, we need to be very clear on how we outline that and what section in that book, when we're enrolling kids, where that falls. Is it going to fall in the math section? It shouldn't. It should fall in the section which are electives, optional.
yet it would count as a third year math.
Which is where I think the confusion is, and why
Yeah.
why I think we kind of are indicating that maybe that does need to be changed, which I think Superintendent Trum was indicating that they could bring some revisions to us or some suggestions for revisions.
Well, I would say we have amazing counseling teams and others, so I do not think our kids are overly confused on this. I think we're probably a little bit more confused just because of the technicalities of it. I don't mean that in a bad way, but I do have confidence that our teachers at our school sites and our counseling teams, are making sure there is not a kid that's caught up in a situation of, I took that as a third year math thinking it was A through G or the math for the UC, because it is A through G. That's where this gets confusing, right? As Brianne said, it still counts as A through G. It just doesn't count as the math part of that. It does count as math for a third year, right? So therefore, we're going to have kids who may not aspire to go to a four-year college. But so we also have to have math classes in place where, so if I'm a kid and may not want to be A through G or go to a college, I can take that math and because maybe I don't want to take, a trigonometry like math 3, right? So those sorts of classes need to remain an option, I would suggest to this board, but coupled with the clarity around when kids come into high school, in middle school, when our counselors sit down with them and they talk about with their families, where do you want to be in 4 years? What are your plans? How do we make sure you're on that right path? That's where those things get clarified so that we don't end up with a situation of a kid taking that class thinking oh, this gets me into UC, only to find out, oh, no, it let me graduate, but it doesn't get me into the UC. So I think that is part of the work that we have to do in those counseling and to clarify. But at the same time, as Brianne said, working to make sure we do have a class that does meet the C, that does provide other options for students who are looking to be the A through G to go to the four-year institution.
Any other comments?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I don't want to be negative because I know we have great counselors. I think statistically it plays out time and time again that certain students get tracked into certain bubbles that excludes them by the time they become juniors or seniors. And so as much as I do trust our counselors and I know that they're getting that, I think also historically we have to look at the fact that a lot of time students of color, English language learners, they do in fact they get tracked out of that. And so that is very much my concern. And I believe that's the same concern as Dr. Villegas. But I think that we've talked this to death. And so I know everyone wants to go home. So
Yeah, final point I'll say is just, we all on this board spend a lot of time, everybody in this room spends a lot of time around these issues, around understanding systems, structures. I don't know that we can expect, and our counselors work very hard, extremely hard with the number of students that they serve. I don't know that we can expect our parents to be experts or our students to be experts in A through G. And so that's my biggest concern. But of course, this is a board. We take votes. We respect the will of those votes. And so I look forward to this conversation continuing next meeting. Thank you.
Anything else? Wonderful discussion, board. And on that note, meeting adjourned.